Hi, and welcome to the Boat Princess podcast. My name is Nicky Vaux, and I'm your host. I am a boat owner, a marina owner, a director on the Marina Industries Association, and a huge advocate for boating. In this series, I'm sharing the stories from every nook of the boating industry with the intention of encouraging more women to join me and for more women to get behind the helm too. I want to share the experience and opportunities of boating, of the boating industry, and I want you to join me as I bring the conversations and answer all the questions you've had. Boating is not just for the glamorous and rich and famous. It's full of beautiful and interesting people making the most of our natural environment and getting out there, enjoying the waterways. So let's let off the lines, take over the helm, and escape to the world of boating. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Boat Princess podcast. I am at Fairline Yachts today in the UK, and I am talking to Miles Morehouse, who is the head of marketing here. Welcome, Miles.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Miles has a great gift of the gab, so I know this is going to be a great one. He is in marketing. After all, it comes with the territory, right, Miles?
No pressure then. Thanks, Nicky.
No pressure at all.
No pressure. I'll do my best.
So, Miles, you told me on our factory talk, which was awesome, by the way, the history of Fairline, because it is a bit weird that Fairline are built in the middle of the country. So I think we need to explain that straight up.
I think we definitely need to explain that because it is a bit weird to be building seagoing boats in the middle of the UK. And, you know, if you took a look at the map, you'd see we're about 100 miles from the nearest sort of bit of ocean, which means that we manufacture our boats here and everything has to leave by road to do that 100-mile trip to the east coast of England. But how did it all start? So back in the mid-1960s, the founder of our company, a guy called Jack Newington, he built a marina out of a disused quarry in the market town of Oundle.
As you do.
As you do. He happened upon it. He was a very keen riverboater as a hobby, and he was coming into retirement after a successful career as a chicken farmer. And he noticed this quarry across a field from the river and decided that it would make a great marina. And what a lovely retirement plan having his own marina on the side of the River Nene would be. So he bought the quarry. They cut a channel from the quarry to the river and flooded the quarry. He put some pontoons in. He built a little chandlery store, and he started renting out the pontoons for berthing.
Man with vision.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is 1963.
Yeah.
So 63 through 66, he was also chartering riverboats for people to holiday on. And then he bought a mold tool and decided that he would have a go at building his own riverboat.
Of course he did.
19-foot mold tool, and employed some local guys to make this boat out of this newfangled material called GRP.
That's fiberglass.
Which at the time was new technology. And coming out of that mold tool was the first Fairline. It was a Fairline 19. Not very original, you know, in terms of the naming policy. It just happened to be 19 feet long. And that was late 1966. And Jack used that Fairline 19 as his own personal boat, and was stopped by other boaters asking where it came from, what a great looking boat, to which he would reply, well, I built it, and would you like one? I'll make one for you. And that's really where boat building in Oundle started.
Wow.
Now, what should have happened is fast forward a couple of decades, 1980s come along, people are no longer really as focused on boating in the inland waterways of Britain. They wanted to go to the Mediterranean and keep their boat in somewhere where you can be guaranteed good weather, where you can explore a little further and a little faster. So boats started to grow in terms of size. Fairline followed that trend, started building larger boats. And somebody at the time, I mean, obviously I was not even at school. I hadn't, not even a glint in my parents' eyes at the time. But somebody in those 1980s should have actually had the foresight and say, if boats are getting bigger, we need to move to the coast, and should have sort of up sticks and moved. That didn't happen, clearly. So it is a bit of we find ourselves in a bit of a restricted area in terms of we can build boats very, very competently, and we do, between 30 feet and 80 feet. However, when you start to get above 80 feet in length, the proportion of height that the boat needs, so it doesn't look like a long canoe, precludes us from making it because we can't transport it to the coast.
Of course.
It has to go under road bridges.
Yeah.
And although the truck trailers today have all got air suspension, and the driver can stop and let the air out of the suspension to lower the trailer, giving himself another 2 inches of headroom. It's
5 feet is not possible.
Yeah, you're never going to get 5 feet or more. And what are the alternatives? Sort of lift it up by helicopter and fly it over the bridge was one suggestion I've been given. As it is, our bigger boats take 2 days to make the journey from here down to Ipswich. They have a police escort, so outriders. Yeah. And at one point,
like Chips.
Yeah, just like
Chips.
Chips.
Guys, excellent. Yeah, excellent.
Poncherello and what was the other guy's name?
I don't remember.
Yeah, anyway,
but we
digress,
now,
and we're definitely showing our age. One solution potentially is to helicopter the boat off the trailer, lift it over the bridge, and then put it back on the trailer. But it's not really very, very sensible. As it is, at one point, one part of the journey, the guy in the escort vehicle has to jump out, run ahead of the truck, and start removing street furniture. So pedestrian railings and signage.
No way.
And flattening it down onto the pavement so the boat can pass through, and then he puts it all back and catches the boat up again. It's quite an involved operation.
Goodness.
And that's just for a 65 or 68 foot boat.
Yeah.
Imagine what it's like, for an 80-foot boat.
Yeah.
So that's our sort of limiting factor, really. But what it does mean is it means that we can really focus all of our energies on being the absolute best we can be in that 30-foot to 80-foot market. And a lot of our competitors have really sort of moved away from the lower part of that segment. Of course, there are many, many brands around the world that can supply you a 25, 30, 35, 40-foot boat. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. But of the British builders,
yes,
we're really the only one that's in that space now in a serious way. Both of our UK competitors have gone much bigger with their sort of 80, 90, 100-foot vessels.
Yes, yeah. Because Sunseeker is from 55 and Princess from 45.
They do a 45 fly, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're from 33.
Yeah, 33 with a plan that we could potentially go a little bit smaller. Yep. And really have an entry level to bring new people into the hobby. Yep. As well as adding boats in all of the segments up to 80.
Which is actually really, I think it's really important for a boat brand to have an entry boat, because we all know boat buyers start from a 25-foot. Well, the norm, there's other boat buyers that do come in at the 70, 80 foot, course, because they've had a massive win with whatever their business has done, and that's brilliant, right? But the normal boat ownership plan, if you like, starts at 25 feet, and then 5 years later it's 35 feet, and then 5 years later it's 45 feet, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
So it's actually, traditionally boat builders have done that. They've gone from that entry level right up. But as you say, a lot of them are sort of translating into that, okay, let's start big. And there are some European brands that are just starting at like 60, 70, 80 feet, and that's it.
For sure.
So, and it is cost orientated, obviously, because it's quite hard for some brands to make the money out of the smaller boat.
It's exactly what I was going to say to you, Nicky. It's really, really hard to make money on small boats, because building a boat is so labor intensive, and the market sets the price. You can't charge twice the market for the same, for a similar product in that size segment, and it's really, really hard to make money on the small boats, which is why you see European builders and the UK guys, all coming in at 24, 25, 28 meters.
Yes.
Because there's good margin there.
Yes.
There's good margin for the selling dealer. There's good margin for the factory as the manufacturer. We don't have that luxury. We play the cards that we're dealt, and we try and make these smaller boats as quickly but as well as we possibly can in order to try and make margin.
Yeah, but at least then you can then focus on that.
Sure.
You kind of look. Lots of the other brands are going, oh, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. Maybe you're kind of going, well, this is what we do.
This is what we do,
and we do it really well.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's kind of keeping you focused and building the best version of what you could possibly do, right?
Absolutely. We don't get diverted. Our design office doesn't get diverted by dreaming up, the next 100-foot boat that's going to capture the market's heart and attention. It's just there's no point to it.
Yeah.
Our design office are taking our 45-foot boat, our 50-foot boat, and making it the best it can possibly be in that sector against everything else that the world produces, whether that's from the Australian manufacturers Riviera and Maritimo right the way through to the US with Sea Ray, the French Beneteau. We're looking at all of that stuff all the time, seeing what we're competitive against and how do we put a British stamp on that.
Yep.
And make it here with our craftspeople here in Oundle.
Yes, I like it. That's good. Talking of design people, some of the brands use naval architects outside the brand.
Yep.
Some of them use in-house.
Yep.
Where do you fit in that?
Where do we sit? Okay, so we've got a design office here. It's currently about 30 people, doing everything from engineering design through concept design to interior design. We don't touch naval architecture. We don't have that skill set in-house, so we do outsource that. We primarily outsource that to J&J Design.
Okay.
They've been responsible for some of our best hulls, certainly in recent times. And that's best hulls from in terms of volume, in terms of handling and sea keeping. So we absolutely are in love with J&J Design. make no bones about that.
They're based where?
They're in Slovakia.
Okay.
Or Slovenia, one or the other. One of the S's in Eastern Europe.
Love it. Love it.
So they're a good team that we call on and use a lot.
Yes.
In terms of our exterior design, we were very fortunate to engage with an Italian designer called Alberto Mancini back in 2016.
Yep.
And he penned the current generation of Fairline. He styled and designed those from the exterior point of view for us. That was really, really great.
Yeah.
He's now, unfortunately, he signed a really chunky contract with an Italian boat builder, which precludes him from playing with us anymore, which is a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame.
But he's an absolute star. So, things like our recent, Targa 65, our Targa 45, he's the guy that dreamt up those fantastic lines that those boats have. But really everything else we do in-house. The next generations of Fairlines that you'll see coming through 2023 onwards, they're all done by our teams here upstairs. So
that's where all the design element come from. What about the culture of the client, of the Fairline owner? Do you have a particular type of client that owns Fairlines? Because I know you would have a bunch of repeat clients.
Yeah, we're a good brand for repeat custom. It just, harking back to that sort of, we call it the ladder that you were referring to earlier on, where you come in at entry or smaller end of the scale, and every few years you find that you've got more friends or more family than you ever thought you actually had, and you need a bigger boat in order to host and entertain them. And then what we see also is that people will move back down the ladder as circumstances change. So kids are now grown up. They don't need to. They don't want to come on holiday with the parents anymore. Don't need such a big boat. So you start to downsize. So we've got a lot of that going on. I think it's impossible to draw you a pen portrait of a Fairline owner because they are so varied and so different from, the buyer in Sydney or Perth to the buyer in Stockholm. Completely different types. What they all have in common, I think, for their choice of Fairline is that they are slightly understated people.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong; they're very wealthy.
Yeah.
But they don't really like to show off. The boat is, it's a source of pride and passion.
Yeah.
And it does make a statement, whether you like it or not. A boat makes a statement about you, but the Fairline buyer would prefer it if it didn't. He or she would really prefer to be slightly under the radar. And the saying that I use quite a lot when talking on this subject is, my typical Fairline owner prefers to enjoy their wealth rather than show their wealth. And I think that kind of encapsulates it, really.
Yeah, interesting. Because they are, they're beautiful, but they're not flashy.
Yeah, they're not flashy. If you won the lottery tomorrow, I wouldn't expect to see you knocking on my door to buy a boat. I'd expect you to buy a boat, but it wouldn't be a Fairline.
Interesting. Challenge for you.
There are other brands that are more
lottery
suitable.
winners come to Fairline and challenge Miles on that one.
No, I just think in the global market there are brands that are better suited to that kind of new money.
Yes.
That look at me, I've got it.
Yes.
And there are other brands that I won't name, but are definitely more appropriate to that kind of person.
Yeah. So
that sounded terribly snobbish. I didn't mean to. It's the Brit coming out in me.
I know, darling.
The
it's
Pom.
the Brit coming out, isn't it?
Apologies.
But you did an amazing event because you had your 50-year celebration.
Oh, man.
In 2017, didn't you? Can you tell us about that?
I will, yeah. It was one of the highlights of my time with Fairline so far, actually. So 2017, 50 years old as a brand. What on earth do you do to celebrate that golden anniversary? And we decided that we'd have a big customer party. Well, that's easy enough to organise. You put an invitation out to the world and people fly in and they have a party. Let's take it to the next level. Let's see how many Fairlines we can bring together in one place. Now, Mallorca, just off the Spanish coast, is a mecca for boating. And actually is a mecca for Fairlines. We've got probably more Fairlines in Mallorca than anywhere else in the world. So we put an invitation out to all those owners in and around that part of the Mediterranean to join us for a celebration. And we sent them coordinates, hoping that most of them would be able to know what to do with coordinates. We sent them coordinates. We told them 4 p.m. on, I think it was the 17th or the 11th of June of 2017. So we sent this invitation, be here with your boat.
Yep.
And, people turned up.
Oh,
it was
that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we had the helicopter with the photographer in it, and we had 50 Fairlines all converge on this one point. And we managed to get them into a V formation,
yep.
Which was quite a feat in itself. And they managed to hold the V formation for about 20 seconds.
Well done, guys. I'm impressed with you.
Which was long enough for the photographer to take the photographs and the videographer to get the footage as well. So, I've got a great selection of images from that day. It'd never been done before. I've not seen any other brand pull something off like that, 50 of their products all in one place at the same time. Yes. And then we all went to the marina where we were all moored stern to around the quayside, where we had a big barbecue and a band and a bar, and we just had the most fantastic party on the Saturday night. Everybody stayed on their boats.
Yeah.
So we just partied all night. It was great.
Oh, brilliant! And there's a certain pride in a British built product, I think. Do you remember that Top Gear episode when they brought out all of the British things that were built in Britain?
Right.
It ranged from tractors to Lotuses to... Do you remember that?
And they drove them up the mount.
They drove them up the mount. It was an amazing,
yeah.
amazing episode of Top Gear. You and I are big Top Gear fans. So I remember... I've lived in Australia for 32 years, And even I still had the tear in my eye of, I'm so
pride.
proud of everything that's built in Britain. And Fairline is one of those. And so when you bring together 50 owners like that, it must be a very special moment.
It was great. And it was Fairline, literally Fairlines through the ages. And, you know, we've had a lot of models in 50 years, as you'd imagine. Yeah. And it was great seeing those models, you know, from the 1980s, 90s, 2000s, right the way through to, you know, brand new boats of at the time, 2017.
Ah, amazing.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool.
Love it.
And a lovely bunch of people.
Yes. Yes, who know how to party. I love that. So I know doing that event, you produced a very, very special document to go with that whole celebration of the 50 years as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that, Miles?
Yeah, of course. Our golden anniversary year. So, you know, it's a big event, 50 years old. And I really wanted something to commemorate that over and above just having a great party. So I knew I wanted a book. I knew I wanted a coffee table book that could be kept and cherished, that would tell the story of the brand and the 50 years of the brand. But I didn't want that really boring chronological order of in 1967 we did this, and in 1972 we did this. And,
in that voice as well.
In that voice.
Yeah.
So I sought out as many people as I could find through contacts and people that still work here and all that sort of stuff, of people that had an involvement in the brand, whether they, you know, were one of the first employees, you know, whether they were a serial Fairline owner, customer, whether they were a long-standing dealer, whether, you know, whoever it was. And I set a journalist off to interview all of these people to get their take on their interaction with the brand and what it meant to them and, you know, what happened and all of that sort of stuff.
I love that.
So I ended up with, you know, a ton of really, really great stories, as well as a ton of really great imagery. And we put that together in a coffee table book, which effectively tells the story of 50 years of the brand, but doesn't do it in a staid, hackneyed, you know, chronological kind of way. The special thing about the book, I think, really was, and I hold the artwork files, nobody else, it's only me, and they'll go to my grave with me, I think. But I printed 2,500 copies of this book and individually numbered each one. Yeah. There will only ever be those 2,500 copies of that book in existence. And I really wanted that to be an important part of this celebration, where if you're presented with a copy of this book by, you know, your dealer or one of us guys at the factory, you know, it resonates. It's something special and something to be cherished. And I'm down to my last few copies now. But that said, I think it's very important, Nicky, that you take this back to Australia and it sits on your coffee table in Sydney.
Oh,
so
no
with
way.
my compliments, there you go.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. It's for
my
me.
Pleasure. Yeah, it's for you.
That's for me.
You read it on the plane.
I can read it on the plane. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm excited about that.
Oh, cool.
That's really cool. Thank you so much. I shall treasure that.
Good. Yes, thank you. Good.
Yeah, because as you know, I'm boat obsessed. So having a coffee table all about, you know, and the stories behind the people of a brand are always fascinating.
Yeah,
you know?
It is fascinating and amusing. You know, I tried to get some humor in there as well by nominating certain people I knew that have got a great sense of humor and some great stories to tell. So, you know, making sure that those stories got told as well. So, yeah, it's cool. And it gave me license to print some really outstanding photography that might not have seen the light of day. You know, there's a great shot in there, for example, that we took in Istanbul in 2010, of a Targa 50 that with the models standing in the cockpit. And the reason that photograph's special is the sky is black. It's pouring with rain. I mean, you can see the raindrops bouncing off the top of the Bosphorus.
Yep.
And it's the most amazing photograph, which you'd never publish in a brochure or on your website or in an ad, because it doesn't say this is boating and I want to be there.
Yes.
You know. But this book gave me license to get stuff like that out of the archive and actually publish it, which is really cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Thank you.
So talking about the people behind the brand, let's talk about you.
Okay.
How did you get in? I know you have a bit of car background in your career, but how did you get into this boating industry?
Okay. So I've been in advertising and marketing all of my career, primarily because you don't really need any formal qualifications to do it. So, so that's how I kind of got in.
You weren't a uni guy.
I definitely wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't really a school guy, to be honest. Don't tell my kids. So
they're listening to this, boys. I think, yeah.
So I've been an advertising and marketing guy all of my career, and before coming to marine, I was always in automotive, in and around automotive, which is a passion of mine.
Oh my God, there's a boat going past us as we speak.
Going past the window.
Yeah. So we're sitting in an office, right? and there's this boat literally wheeling past us. It's absolutely spectacular because I've got glass doors and I'm looking at this boat going past us. That is just so cool. The timing is impeccable.
Yeah, it's a Squadron 50.
Squadron 50, just wheeling past us.
Passing the office window.
Yeah. Brilliant. Oh, what a moment. Okay.
Okay. Right, the shadow's passed now.
So we were talking about...
We were talking about me.
Yes,
come on.
I'm so sorry. Let's get back to you, Miles.
Let's get straight back to it. So I was an automotive guy with a real passion for automotive. And
which you still have, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course. And I was doing a sort of I'd stayed at Mercedes-Benz in the UK for a long time. And I got a phone call out of the blue from a headhunter for this firm that I had no knowledge, recognition of at all, called Fairline.
Oh.
Because I had no reason to know of the brand. They said, look, they're looking for a senior marketing guy, with some luxury experience. Would you go and talk to them? I said, no. No, thanks. I'm a car guy, not a boat guy.
Yeah.
And they said, well, can we come and see you? Can we, present and have a chat about it? And I said, well, yeah, I'm working at one of our facilities in Weybridge at the end of the week. I can give you an hour over a coffee. Come and see me. Which we did. And by the end of that hour, I was thinking, crikey, this sounds like it could be quite an opportunity. So I kind of progressed through the process, as you do. And the overarching kind of drive for me was, apart from the money, was, okay, so I've spent the last decade visiting Mercedes-Benz dealers for meetings, invariably on some grotty industrial estate on the outskirts of Slough. I'd had a 10-year career at Mercedes-Benz where, most weeks I'd be visiting a dealer, invariably on some grotty industrial estate on the outskirts of Slough, talking about allocation.
Such a great name, isn't it?
Talking about, Google it. You'll see what I mean. Talking about allocations and sales and marketing and prospects and all of that sort of stuff. And here I am now involved in a conversation to go and work in the leisure marine industry for one of the top 3 brands in the UK. And I'm thinking, hang on, I'm pretty sure boat dealers aren't located on a grotty industrial estate on the outskirts of a grotty town. Surely these boat dealers are in, Sydney Harbour and, Miami.
Exactly.
And they are.
Yes.
I was sold. I mean, put that on top of the fact that, photo shoots for cars are pretty formulaic. You're invariably in a studio, the car's on a turntable, there's a whole raft of people lighting it, and there's a photographer shooting it. Not very interesting. Yeah. And as a client, you kind of have to oversee it. You have to be there. Quite boring days. Boats. Whoa, here we go. South of France, Balearic Islands. I did a great shoot in Sydney Harbour. I've got 3 that my dealer down there, the guys at One Brokerage, absolutely fantastic dealership, by the way. Great operation.
They're great guys.
They pulled together 3 matching Fairlines for me.
Oh, God, love them.
When was this? This must have been 2018, I think. So, of course, I took the opportunity to go to Sydney for 10 days and photograph these 3 boats together in Sydney Harbour. We got some great imagery from that. So again, just another reason for thinking, actually, this leisure marine malarkey, that might be quite good fun. And guess what? It is.
You're still here. And he's still here.
I'm still having fun.
Yeah. And I know you had a really, really fun moment in your career with Fairline, didn't you?
Oh, is this the little trip that I spoke to you about earlier?
Yes, I think you should share that one.
Oh, this is never to be repeated, I think. So,
is anyone listening?
So we had a brand new model, 2011 this is. And the way that the sequencing of production finished or worked meant that new boat was going to be sat around for about 4 months before it could be shown at its first international boat show for its world debut, which happened to be the Cannes Boat Show in September.
Such a waste of time just sitting around.
Well,
doing nothing.
it was sitting, we've just seen a boat pass the window here. It was sitting on a cradle, literally in the car park, under a cover. And I would come to work every day and I'd look at this thing and I think, what a wasted opportunity. We need to photograph it. We need to get people to see it. We need to get people on board it in order to really start selling them properly. So I hatched this little plan and I went to the board and I told them my idea, which I thought would not have a cat in hell's chance of ever seeing the light of day. And to my utter surprise, they all nodded and agreed and told me to get on with it.
Oh, win.
So the plan was we take this, it was a Targa 58 GT. It's a, it's a good, I don't know, at the time, probably £1.5 million worth of boat. I mean, an expensive boat, a big expensive boat. And it had some real great features on it. Big windows on the side that would power down.
Oh, I love those.
I think the patio door went down into the engine room as well, if I remember correctly. The master cabin was forward and had this beautiful Japanese style sliding door.
Yes.
And the
I know it well.
The bathroom ahead of that. I mean, it was a shower for you and 4 friends easily.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, fantastic.
You know what? That particular master and ensuite design in that particular boat, I think that's the best master ensuite I've ever seen on a boat.
It's incredible.
It's a brilliant really design. Yeah.
So my view was
of that size I'm talking about. Yeah.
My view was that it's no good this boat sitting in the yard under a tarpaulin. We need to show people what it's got because it's got such great features on it. So I pitched the idea of taking the boat down to the Mediterranean.
Oh, of course you did.
And the idea was that we should take the boat into all the boating hotspots in the summer period. So your audience are clearly current boat owners, all brands, currently on holiday, i.e. great frame of mind. And here we are in a stunning new boat with a great exterior. And the idea was that we would just have champagne flowing all day. We would go to the bay where we would push in front line, drop the hook, and then we'd send the tender off with a couple of people in it to all the boats of similar size and say, hey guys, have you seen this new Fairline? Do you want to come and have a look? And we had people swimming over. We had people bringing their own tenders over. We were giving people lifts in our tender. And so all day we were just, it's like a boat show with a single boat, but in an environment where people were already boating. And then we'd hook up with the dealer in that territory who would, with advance warning, who would then have invited all of his clients to come and see the boat. We'd roll out the red carpet. We'd have a party on the quayside with the boat. Absolutely fantastic. It worked wonders, I've got to say. Not cheap, because I was speeding around in this boat all summer, putting
Captain delivery moment right there.
Oh man, I was putting thousands of pounds worth of fuel in it, and the champagne bill was legendary, but it was probably the best 8 weeks of my life.
I can imagine. And look, any brands out there that they need the Boat Princess to do a similar sort of thing, I'm here for you. Just contact me. I'll be happy to do that for you anytime.
As I say, I don't think it's to be repeated from by me, unfortunately. Life moves on.
But that is actually a really interesting concept, because at boat shows we get to see boats stationary.
Yep.
Right? If you go for a test run on a boat, you have to be a very serious level of buyer.
Sure. For
a boat brand to actually take you out for a run.
Sure.
So, but as a boat buyer, you need to know what the slap is. You need to know what the ride is like. You need to know what the take-up is like, how quickly she goes to plane if she's a planing boat, all of those things.
Yep. So
doing that gave you the opportunity to show everybody, even from viewing it from a distance. Yeah. This is what she looks like. This is what her wake is. All those sorts of things.
Yeah. Or putting 10 people on board, after lunch and going for a whiz round the block.
Yeah.
to actually experience all
Yeah.
of that sort of stuff. Because, we can talk till we're blue in the face about, Fairline has superior seakeeping to other brands. And we truly think it does.
Yeah.
But until you've experienced it,
Yep.
it's just words. So you really need to experience it.
Yeah. And we as the Boat Princess did an event in beginning of May,
Mm-hmm.
which was put together with our good friends from Boating Syndication Australia and also Club Nautical. And we all came together as a group and put together this event where the girls paid a ticketed price to go out on a 90-foot boat.
Yep.
And just be out drinking, eating, chatting, networking, and enjoying the whole process of being on a big boat.
Yep.
They loved it. You can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And for BSA, that their brand of boats is Long Reef. So that brand got a moment where everybody got to experience what it's like moving around and what it's like experience and
using the boat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
how practical is it?
How practical is it?
Yeah.
Does it work? Does this and and in that experience when you've taken it out on the Med and so on and so forth, you get to see how easy is it to get the tender off, and how easy is it to put the anchor down.
Yep.
All those sorts of
or
things.
Or more importantly, get the anchor back up.
True enough. So yeah, I wonder if we need to do a little bit more of that.
Yeah, the thing that inhibits it is the expense of it.
Yeah.
As a boat manufacturer, we don't have the luxury of building boats for ourselves. We're building boats for customers, whether they are the dealer buying for inventory or whether it's an end user customer buying it for himself. We don't have the luxury of having a marina full of boats that we can just pick and choose from.
Oh, I can help you with that. I've got a marina.
Perfect. So the stars have to align,
yes,
to enable any of the brands to kind of undertake that kind of activity.
Yeah.
And invariably, what you need is a very easy on-side client, boat owner, who's more than happy to loan you his new boat for marketing, PR, event purposes.
Yeah.
That's not every customer,
no,
by any stretch.
No.
You do get them, of
Yes.
course, and we're very thankful that they are around and do help us. So.
Yeah. And talking of cost, I find it does sort of when you walk around a boat factory and you see the number of people that are working here. How many have got here roughly?
We're about 450 at the moment.
Yeah. The number of craftsmen you've got there working on the boats, it's a very labour intensive business. But also I've noticed, seeing all of the manufacturers that I've seen in the UK in the past few days, is the logistics you've all got in terms of trucking things from place to place, which obviously is a big cost.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them even have their own trucks and vans and blah, blah, blah. And then the just the sheer magnitude of the sites that you have to have to do boat building. I think it's if I can recommend to owners out there, I think if you really want to understand where the cost of building a boat comes from, just visit one of the factories.
But visit a factory and come and have a look.
Because you suddenly see, oh, okay, this is why it's costing me so much money, because there is so much involved in building a boat and in getting it from A to B and getting its parts from A to B. And
absolutely. If I hark back to my automotive days, if I needed to do a press event for a new car, I would order the cars from the factory a year in advance. I'd order them in the colours that I wanted and the quantity that I wanted. And on the allotted day, 10 of these cars, a year later, 10 of these cars would arrive on a transporter. And then I could transport them off to the venue that I was holding the press event, for example. And it was that easy, 1,500 quid for a car transporter to take them from point A to point B. Thanks very much. Boats is a different world. A different world. Moving these things either by road or even by water is hugely labor intensive, hugely costly. And it's really not something that you want to do if you don't have to. That's the sort of first piece of the jigsaw that makes it very different. The second piece is the complexity of the build. We, as I said, we're about 450 people all in.
Yep.
And we've got some, the majority are clearly boat builders in that mix. We've got second, third generation boat builders here because we've been in Oundle for so long.
Amazing.
In fact, one of the guys in our design office, he's one of our designers, clearly.
So.
What should I start that again? One of the guys in our design office is the 8th member of his family that has worked or does work for Fairline.
Oh my
8
goodness.
members of the same family.
That's
his
amazing.
father, his uncle, his several cousins, locally based family, and all coming to Fairline at one point or another.
Good idea. So you've got an incredible history then, haven't you, of some amazing people working here for a long time, but that obviously gives you a fantastic base for the future. So what do we feel? Well, you can tell me. What is the future of
What's
Fairline?
the future of Fairline?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a question. What's really important in this market is new product.
Yeah.
Your typical boat buyer of any brand isn't particularly interested in buying the boat that was designed and launched 5 years ago or more.
Yeah.
They want the boat that's being designed today to launch next season, and that's the boat they want. So hence all of us have aggressive new product development underway, and that's always been the case, certainly over the last 5 years has been the case. COVID over the last couple of years has given us certainly the opportunity to be very strategic in our thinking about new product, and we've done a couple of updates to existing boats this year. Next year, we have 2 brand new boats, and I mean brand new from the ground up, coming to market next year. And then we've got continuation through 2024 to 2027 of new model introductions, which we've got mapped out and planned. So we've been very strategic in our thinking for that, because I don't want to talk anybody into a recession, even though the UK media for the last couple of months have been ramming home recession coming messaging.
I don't know why they do that.
Oh, it's crazy,
it
isn't it?
Causes it.
Yeah, it's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
It's exactly what happens. I don't know what it's like in media in Australia, but in the UK,
exactly the same.
we're all getting talked into this doom, gloom, cost of living, and we're heading for recession, inflation at massive. Stop. Let's talk about good stuff. Let's not talk ourselves into the next recession, for goodness sakes.
Exactly right.
But should that happen, we know from experience, 2008 being a great example of that. We know from experience that the ones that survive and come out stronger are the ones that have got new product to offer the buyer.
Correct.
Because there are still boat buyers in the market, even in the worst of financial times. But as I said earlier, they're not interested in yesterday's product. They want tomorrow's product. So we've really geared ourselves up in terms of our new product development plan to ensure that we're at the forefront of that. We've got tomorrow's product coming today. That's our strategy there.
So give me some specifics on that.
Next year, I can't give you too much away.
Oh, come on! You heard it here, folks.
I can talk about a couple. I can talk about a couple of boats that are coming because they're already kind of in the public domain.
Yep.
And more importantly, my dealer network around the world already know about them.
Yay!
What I can't have is my dealer network learning about new product from a podcast in Australia. Honestly.
Really? Oh, really? Oh, we're not just in Australia, darling. We're all over the world.
All over the world. Well, let's talk about what's coming imminently. So in September at the Cannes Yachting Festival, 6th of September, we'll unveil the new Phantom 65. It's our first sport bridge model, so it has a small fly bridge on top of the underpinnings of our very successful Targa 65.
Oh, those fly bridges where you feel like you're sitting in a car on top of a boat.
Yes.
Those ones.
Yeah.
They're so cool.
You'll have a small bar unit up there. You can obviously drive from up there. There's a little bit of seating and you'll be able to convert the table to give you a sunbed up there. But that's it. It's not a fly bridge in the true sense of the word. Hence, we call it a sport bridge. So that's September. That'll be followed Q1 next year by a brand new Squadron 58.
Nice.
Exciting boat.
Yeah.
It's going to be the first for us with drop-down side balconies.
Oh, yay. I love those.
Yeah, we've not done those before, which is good. We've got a very clever arrangement with the bathing platform on the back of the boat, which will extend the usable surface area of the bathing platform. We're putting modular seating into the cockpit so that you can actually switch your seating around to, look out at sea rather than look into the living space.
Cool.
I don't know why not many people have done that before. When you're at home,
Yeah.
and you're on your garden furniture, you're not staring through your patio door at your lounge room.
It's a good point.
You're the other way around, looking down the garden. So why is that? Why should that be any different on a boat? So we bring that to market Q1, and then for September we've got a launch at the more entry level end of Fairline.
Ooh.
He says, searching for the right words to be non-specific and not give too much away.
Oh, something's happening, folks. Something's happening. I love it.
That's pretty much all I can say on that. I'm sorry.
That's fantastic.
Sorry, Nikki. There is one more which you'll be interested in, which is the spiritual successor to the Targa 58 GT.
Oh,
it'll be a Targa 55 GT.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay. Is it still going to have that amazing master suite with the ensuite at the front?
No, I think it'll probably be mid-master on this one.
Okay.
Be mid-master, but it'll be a GT with a garage.
Oh, now I'm excited.
Well, we've had real success at the 45-foot.
Yeah.
With our 45-foot GT, which offers you the enclosed main deck, so patio door and large sunroof, but also has the garage.
Yeah.
And it's people can't get enough of it. So okay, we're doing well on 45. Let's do the same on a 55.
Oh, brilliant! Because I do find it strange that so many brands don't have a tender solution. Really. And you can end up with your tender on the bow with a great big
old crane.
Big crane to take her off, which on a windy day is not a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
And then you can have your hydraulic platform at the back with a tender on it. Actually, I quite like that. That's quite good.
It's kind of the best solution.
Yeah,
actually.
It's quite easy.
Unless you've got a garage and you can just winch it up into the garage.
Is the ultimate. Yeah. It's just so cool.
It keeps it out of the sun. When you're not using the boat, it keeps it out of the way. You can throw your wakeboards and your paddle boards and all that sort of stuff on top of it in the garage and your skis. So that's all secure and out the way as well.
Your inflatable sup that never actually gets deflated.
Yes, exactly. Good point. You always see them actually tied onto the pulpit rails on both sides. Why not just deflate them? Actually, it's just a pain to deflate. Eh?
They are a pain to deflate. They make a funny noise. So we don't,
like this air conditioning
unit. So we're going to just keep running through this one, I think. So when you deflate your sup, everybody suddenly looks at, what's going on? What's the noise? They're deflating a sup. We're okay. But I love a garage.
Yeah, so 45 feet garage and patio door, big win for us. Around the world, actually, from Northern Europe to Southern Hemisphere. Yeah. So let's do the same on a 55 foot, and we should see that boat it's scheduled for Dusseldorf 2024. So 18 months away.
Amazing.
There you go. That's really early show and tell.
That is a big show and tell. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. So Miles, what do you love most about working for Fairline and working in this industry?
Well, I can give you a range of answers on that. I'm not going to put them in any particular order. So I think I would start by saying I feel really at home at Fairline. At home as in part of the furniture. No, not really.
And they do build it here.
True. I feel really at home here. I know pretty much everybody in the business. They know me. I've been doing this a while, so I've got it pretty down pat in terms of how things happen and what it takes to what does it take to build a boat show in the south of France for the first week of September? Well, I've done a dozen of those now. I know what it takes. So So from that point of view, that experience, that knowledge is, and that sort of passion for the brand is really, really important. So that's a big draw for me.
Yep.
Travel, although there's not been a lot of it over the last couple of years, and that's been tough for me because I love to travel.
Yeah.
I like nothing more than going down to Heathrow Airport and getting on a plane and going somewhere fantastic, because, in normal life, you get to do that on holiday for a couple of weeks a year.
Yep.
I get to do it for a living. I mean,
Yeah.
how cool is that?
Yeah, that's very cool.
So I absolutely love that. And I like the industry.
Yep.
Because there are some sharks, of course, there are in any industry, but the majority of people that I interact with and count amongst my friends in the industry, they're just great people.
Yeah.
And, you get on this boat show circuit, which takes you from, South Florida to Sydney to Singapore to Europe. And you just, you're bumping into the same people, seeing them in the bars, in the restaurants, at the shows. And it's just, it's like one big family.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some really awesome people in this.
Yeah, some great characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, Miles, it has been amazing having you here on our podcast. I really enjoyed your company. Is there anything you can leave us with to help our audience understand why they should own a Fairline above another brand?
I think you need to get on board. There's no good me telling you to visit the website, have a go on the configurator, all of that sort of stuff. That's just marketing fluff. You need to get an opportunity to get on board a Fairline and see for yourself. So there was a small local British show on the south coast of England a couple of weeks ago,
which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Great, and it's a very relaxed show, isn't it? There's not
great.
a lot of people there, and it's
Yeah.
very easy to get on and off the boats and what have you. I took the opportunity to get on board all my competitors' boats at that show, and it really brought home to me the gap that we're now starting to see in terms of fit and finish and materials that Fairline are putting into their 50, 60-foot product, and our competition are putting into their 60-foot product. And the gulf, to my eyes, the gulf was massive. I hosted a guy who's first time at a show, and I didn't have to point out the differences. He was seeing the differences for himself in terms of the materials that people are using, the lack of grain matching that brands are, seems to have, it's with us, but it's not with others. And I think, what I'd say to your audience is, if you want to see what a premium motor yacht really looks like, jump on one from any of the brands, but then jump on a Fairline and see the difference.
Great advice. Always go to boat shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way to do it.
It's
the place to do it.
It is the way to do it. Or, of course, get in contact with, in Australia, One Brokerage.
Yeah, Glenn, Evan, Chris, they're all there to help. They don't have many boats sort of lying around, but they've got a great customer base where they can access customers' boats to show you around. So they're Perth, Sydney. They've just opened up an office in Surfers. So, yeah, give those guys a shout, and they'll be pleased to help you.
And they do actually have a few share boats too, which opens up the ownership of Fairline to a broader audience.
They do, primarily out of Sydney.
Yes,
the share boats, but a great way if you're just dipping your toe in the water for the first time. What a fantastic opportunity that a share of a boat gives you.
Absolutely, yeah. So thanks again, Miles.
Hey, my pleasure.
Great to meet you. I hope you do make it to Sydney Mid Boat Show. That would be amazing to see you there.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great.
To see our beautiful marinas. And all
I'd like that. We'd go for a beer as well, eh?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool.
Definitely. Although I'm not drinking beer.
No?
I'm drinking champagne. I'm a bit of a champagne girl, not a beer girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's no problem. I can drink champagne.
Excellent. All right, guys, it's been lovely to have you here with us on the Boat Princess podcast. I hope you have an amazing weekend ahead of you, and we shall see you on the water soon. Well, it's been lovely to have you listen out there, folks. I really appreciate your ears And if you'd like to get in contact, just follow me on Instagram at The Boat Princess, and perhaps leave me a comment on today's picture of our podcast so that we can get an idea of what you thought about it. That'd be lovely. Take care, and we'll see you on the water soon.